Hey, what's going on, guys? We are Downright Random. This is
Mike.
and I'm Janine. And welcome to our podcast.
We switched it up on you guys today.
Yeah, we did. It switched it up on me because I didn't know I was doing the intro, but it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, we want to thank you guys for tuning into another one of our podcasts. And as you guys know, we do conversations here between the two of us, just kind of whatever random topic we kind of come up across, and then we just kind of mix it up as we go.
Yep.
And yeah, we thank you guys for tuning in again. So what's on the conversation board today?
Well, I mean, we kind of brought it up a little bit in the last podcast, and we're also helping out with a church to film and do some live stream stuff for them, since we have some of the equipment and things like that. It makes it easier for them. I figured we talk about some religious or like spiritual stuff if you wanted to today.
Okay.
If you thought that was good.
If you want to, we will give a disclaimer. I don't know why I always feel like we have to give a disclaimer, but as you know, everyone has a different opinion on different topics. So that's your disclaimer.
But I think this goes into what our last podcast was, our last episode was. In our last one, we talked about like marriage and having similar views and different views and being like talking and stuff like that. And I feel like this topic is something that kind of goes into that one. If you haven't watched that one or listened to that one, definitely go back and listen to that one before you listen to this one. Because I feel that people are different. Like I'm male, you're female. I'm white, you're black.
Caramel. I'm just kidding. I'm black.
I mean, we couldn't be more different, right? Is that how it works?
Your country, I'm from the city. And but yeah, everyone's different. Everyone's different. So everyone's gonna have a different view.
So I feel like I did bring it up in the last podcast because we were talking about like the little bit of music stuff and things that I introduced you to, and I did state that I'm not Christian. And I think probably so people understand it's like I'm not anything. For a while I used to claim atheist, but I don't.
Atheist or agnostic?
Atheist.
Oh.
But I don't claim that anymore because I feel like that itself is claiming its own.
Yeah, it's turned into its own kind of.
It's turned like into its own religion without being a religion.
Yeah.
And I think it's not what I am. And so I don't claim anything.
Yeah.
And claim nothing.
Okay.
And you, on the other hand, you do have spiritual beliefs.
Yeah. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I don't necessarily believe in the whole thing is like Bible front to back. I feel like I'm more on a spiritual level, and I'm a little mixed on organized religion and like church and everything. I have experienced different churches. I actually, in one of our earlier podcasts, I talked about like Jehovah's Witness, and one of my aunts is still Jehovah's Witness, and my grandmother is Seventh-day Adventist, so I got a little taste of that. I got a little taste of Baptist church as well, and Catholic, just a little bit of that, just through my mom telling me stuff, and then like my best friend and their like beliefs and everything. I don't feel, and then also I did for a while go to one of the hip new Christian churches that like the beginning of service is like a rock concert and everything, and people are crowd surfing. No one's crowd surfing, but but it's close to it. Like the lights drop, the strobe lights come on and everything. So I feel like from my experience, I feel more spiritual with everything. And I think the reason why I feel that way is because of things that has happened to me in life. When I stopped believing, because for a while I did stop believing, but I think it was based on things that were happening on a human level. And I was upset about a lot of different things, and I would pray and I would think that it was going to magically happen or fix things. And I think for me, and I was still young at this time, and I felt like, why isn't it working? People say if you pray for something, it's supposed to happen. And I think on a human level, you think that everything's supposed to be instant. It was being human and being young at the same time. And I think that made me stop believing. But then when I probably reached my lowest, I started believing again. And I realized that the things that we think we're supposed to get, like people or materialistic things, that's not really that important.
Yeah.
It's more of the thing that you should be praying for and asking for me, I'll say that, is more of a mentally healthy, spiritually healthy. And that these are not tangible things. These are not, people or whatever. So I feel like when I reached that point and I stopped trying to pray for actual physical things or people, it was more of I can't control things that are supposed to come to me as far as like someone else. Like I can't pray for someone to come to me. It's like when people say like in movies and they're like, oh, we're gonna do a love spell, and all of a sudden the person loves you. Like you can't do that. You can't make somebody. You can't pray to make somebody.
I think that's voodoo.
Yeah, yeah, it is voodoo, which is terrifying. But you can't pray to make somebody do something because that's what you want. Because they may be praying for something else that doesn't have to do with coming back to you or doing something with you or whatever. And I think that I realized that for me, my prayer was more having to do with like building me up spiritually and mentally.
Right.
And so that's where my religion kind of comes from. I don't need to pray for materialistic things. I feel like a lot of people, even like when you go to church and they're like, oh, we're praying for, I don't know what people exactly are praying for, but I don't like when people like for example, like we watch game shows and then like people like they'll like play a game and then they'll do like the cross, right, or something like that. It's like, so you're praying for the money, and then like there's a person next to you, so you're praying, I guess, so that they don't get that thing.
But the same thing
also
happens like in professional sports. I understand that people are religious.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that when you win your game and you're like, well, God was looking out for me today on the field. It's like, does that mean that you think that God was not looking out for someone else on the field? Yeah. I think it's a very selfish thing to think about, especially for someone who believes in that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think it's not the right way to show your faith.
No, I agree.
So I guess that's on the same level.
And so for me, once I realized that, and also I realized I can be anywhere. I can be anywhere and I can be connecting with, God and trying to build myself up and strengthen myself mentally and like physically or whatever. I
mean, because nowadays everyone has Zoom, so God has Zoom.
Well, this is before Zoom, but it's
Skype
and whatever else people use. But it's like, so I feel
Carrier
like
pigeons.
I feel pigeons are dirty, but I feel like my belief has come to that, like, and that's what. And it's not like I just like all of a sudden when I felt stronger, I disconnected with God. That wasn't it also. It was also a thing where I was grateful for him to give me that strength. And it's also for me giving myself that strength also, because it was something I had to learn. Right. It wasn't like it was just, God was telling me this. It was something I had to realize that you can't control. You have to be like strong mentally and physically. That's the thing. And I feel like, and that's what we were saying before in our last podcast as well, or previous one before that, mentally you have to be stronger, and you can't always. And so I just equate that with spirituality and with, like all of that. I don't feel like I need to be part of a religion. I don't feel like I need to be like baptized into something. I don't feel like I need to go someplace, because I can just like sit right here and start working on my beliefs and my spiritual journey or whatever. I don't feel like I need to, but I think a lot of people, I don't want to say they use it as a crutch. I think some people need religion and they need that community. Like, just like, for example, homeschool kids. Like people say, I don't really want my kids to be homeschooled because they need to have like the social aspect of it and everything. And I think some people with church, that may be the only time they socialize with other people, or they feel like that energy. Because I do feel like there is a energy that can come off of going to church. Because there was a time when I was going through something that I was down about, and I just went to a church, and just being around other people that were like singing and like, in that good energy. Sometimes people do need that. So I can understand that aspect of it. But, and it's the same thing, like we used to do, we were talking about this the other day, we used to do like a open mic at the coffee shop. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when I was around that, because there was a lot of people that were creative, and it was like raw, right? People, it wasn't like people that were full with like egos. It was people we had some people, but we were able to point them out right away, and it changed the vibe. Oh yeah, it changed the vibe entirely. There were
two, definitely. One was Dragon. And the other was that daughter
girl
with her mom.
Yeah.
But
And
her
she
mom was the one that was pushing because she was on,
trying to be a show mom or something.
yeah, she was on some show or some singing show.
Yeah, and it was
and
like
so she had to come there and show who she was.
And nobody was really.
But
interested.
we were a small coffee shop.
Yeah.
We just had, I don't know, 20 people maybe.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed the poetry, we enjoyed the singing, we enjoyed
and it was
stuff.
people of all ages, races, everything.
And it was good.
And it was really good.
We had an unfortunate accident with one of the people that worked there.
Yeah.
And he kind of messed it up for everyone.
But it was like, but I'm still grateful for that moment that we had.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
And it was just like being in that space.
I would love to do it again.
Yeah. Being in that space with that energy.
Yeah.
That was a good thing. It was like feeding your soul because you're in a good space and a good energy. So I can understand that aspect of going to church for that. But I don't feel like we should be like, this religion's better than this religion and my beliefs are better than your beliefs. I'm not for that. And I also am not for, I feel like be a good person, but I don't feel like you should be part of something that is going to be like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And if you do this, you can't be part of this. And if you're like, once you start like isolating people or trying to control how people are, that's what I don't have a problem. That's what I have a problem with. So that's my whole thing on, sorry, I went on.
It's okay. That's why we're talking about all this stuff. But like, and for me, I don't have any religion. I don't have any faith in it. And then this goes back when we were talking about ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in the spirits. I enjoy the thought of some of these things. As far as the Bible goes, I feel it's just a whole bunch of stories that were written by man. I mean, it was written by man. A whole bunch of different men. I mean, but for me, I feel like there's too many religions and each religion contradicts another one at some point. And I feel like, why do we have so many different versions?
Yeah.
If it's only one true God or only one true this, why do we have so many different versions? And then there's a lot of controversy with like a lot of them. I mean, there's like Mormonism, and he wrote his book based on his experiences that he had, and then now people follow him. Like, there are times I feel like that religion, and I'm sorry if this offends someone, but this is my opinion on it. And you can get mad, you can say whatever you want, but it's one of those things that if you have your opinion, I have mine. That a lot of religious churches and the way they come off of stuff, it's very cult-like. I feel that Mormonism is almost cult-like, the way they write a lot of different things. And I mean, I've read I haven't read all the Bibles. I've read a Bible, like just I don't remember which version it was. It was probably just King James.
Yeah.
But I don't remember which one it was. But I mean, I've read the Bible. But you know what? I've also read Harry Potter. And there are people out there that believe Harry Potter is true. Like, it's based.
Scary.
But you say that.
Yeah. But
people believe that the Bible is real. And if you have that certain kind of belief, that's what the belief you have. I know there's going to be people who said, well, Harry Potter was a movie. So is The Passion of the Christ.
But the Bible was made before,
all because someone came before you doesn't mean that there wasn't someone talking about that. People have talked about witches and things like that for a very long time. Yeah. They're actually like Wiccan Bibles and stuff like that. They were made years and years and centuries ago. I mean, things have been around for a long time. But this is just her version of witches and warlocks is, or wizards or whatever you want to call them, was Harry Potter. That was her version. Like, there's so many versions of the Bible. That's this person's version. That's why you have these different ones. You have like the First Testament. You have all these different things. And each one of the things are just chapters in the Bible.
So what do you think we are? We're just...
What do you mean?
Like, since you don't believe in ghosts, you don't believe that we have spirits and everything, what do you think we are? We just exist?
We do exist, but it's one of those things, we're animals. How do you know what a dog feels religiously? If we're just animals... See, okay, a lot of people think that a lot of animals are not very intelligent because we speak our language and we can't communicate. I think, that we can't understand what another dog is. Like, a dog is barking at another dog. We just hear them barking. We don't
hear them dogging.
We hear them dogging. But it's like, that's how they talk. All because someone speaks French and I don't understand French doesn't mean that they're not just another person. Same thing with dogs. Like, we're animals. Dogs are animals. We're all beasts, if you want to go with religious words or whatever, And it's one of those things where it's like, what do we think that dogs think about Jesus or God, or do they have their own God? We don't know this. And it's one of those things that, how do we know what dolphins think. Or ants. Who knows? Maybe we are gods to ants just because we're bigger.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? Who knows what it is? You know, and all because we'll pour water on them or light them up with a magnifying glass as kids or whatever. Does that mean that we are creating like the flood, like Noah experienced? You know, and it's one of those things that we don't know.
Do you ever feel like it's a little bit of fear, or not fear? It's just that because you can't explain it, and that's the reason why you don't believe.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think sometimes things just aren't explained. I think there's a lot of scientific reasons for certain things. One of the things that is fascinating right now is I've been watching these things on. There's actually, I don't know all the details because I've only watched a few videos on it. Excuse me, but there is an asteroid out in space that's starting to rotate a certain way, and the way it's starting to rotate, it's actually becoming like its own planet because it's starting to create its own orbit around, like, I don't remember what, there was a lot of scientific words of all these different like planets and whatever, but the way it's turning, it's actually starting to get like a certain amount of momentum, which is based very similar to how Earth is. And a lot of scientists believe that pretty soon, if it keeps doing what it's doing, it's going to get a certain rotation, it's going to start spinning a certain speed, and things are starting to like evolve on that little asteroid and become a planet. Because apparently some other asteroids have already collided with it. It's already started to get mountains. It's already started to like grow in size based on the things that have hit it. It does have a certain amount of temperature based in like the core of the asteroid and stuff like that. Like it's like growing. So how do you explain that? I feel like things just happen. And sometimes you just can't explain things, and maybe someone could say that's God. But how do you know that it's God and not the Hindu God or Buddha or whoever else that someone else believes in? Like,
so I think that I understand that part of it. Like, for example, like the Egyptians, like they had like tons of gods and everything, and you and read all that stuff. So what do you think of those? Are all just like fairy tales?
It's one of those things that I feel that people have told stories for years, and sometimes stories were to keep children in line, because you put adults, but you put a certain, well, I mean, if you put them in children's, it instills that fear. So when they get adults, they're supposed to do better. But it's one of those things that if you tell a child that, it's almost like Santa Claus. If you tell a child that Santa, if you're bad, Santa's not going to bring you anything. That child's going to be like, I got to be good.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same kind of thing. And I know comparing Santa to Jesus, some people are very offended by that, but so it's almost like that. People have told stories. Because why do you tell? Why are there lessons in stories? To get people to follow a certain agenda. Yeah. And I feel like that's what sometimes it is. Yeah. I feel that, but I feel.
So at what point do you think these stories stop? See, because you're saying you're basing it on just religion, but what about other things that we've been told as kids? Do you think that...
I thought there's still like things that are fables.
Yeah.
Because like Humpty Dumpty on a wall, like it's trying to tell you something. Sometimes I don't know what they're trying to tell you because some of the things are so crazy. Yeah. But, I mean, let's just take Humpty Dumpty for a minute. I know it's a child's poem. I mean, I don't even know if it is a child's poem because it's so like crazy. Yeah. Like
it's actually kind of demented.
It is kind of demented. So, like, but he fell, and all these people couldn't put him back together again, which means that sometimes the lesson is that sometimes you can't fix things. It's what it is. So you can't cry over spilled milk, kind of thing, you know, But that's just, they're trying to tell you something that if something happens, sometimes there's nothing else you can do about it. It's just what it is, you know? And I kind of feel it's the same thing. They're trying to tell you like, but I don't understand how one religion, I mean, we're just talking about religion because that was the topic, but like how one religion is better than another religion. And I'm not going to try to say any of them are, you know, that one is the correct one.
Did you ever believe?
I don't really feel that I did. There was a time that I felt that maybe there was a chance, and I felt like but I was as a child. And so as a child, you're still learning things and you're still trying to grow. Whether that experience cemented my belief in it now. I don't know, and I can't tell you for sure. And a lot of people try to explain that, well, God is unusual, or whatever they're saying is that, you don't know God's plan. Well, I know that, granted, if there's a God and I don't know God's plan, we'll go with that theory for a second, that I'm fairly certain that God's plan does not entailed a child being beaten, raped, dismembered, and thrown into garbage cans for their life to be ended. And I don't feel like that was his plan. And if it was his plan, then God f***ed up. That's just what it is. So how do you explain those kind of things? And it's one of those things that when you ask that of someone, they're like, well, I don't know. Maybe that's just what his plan was. I don't feel that that's his plan. If that was the case.
So I think we have to realize that pain is a thing.
Pain is a thing. But excessive dismemberment and excessive beatings and
totally
things like
understand that
do not have any place in someone. Like, I feel like if someone was going to say that God exists and we're going to try and convince me or whatever, or if something happened to convince me, if something like that was happening to someone and all of a sudden the person that was causing that person pain, that child pain or whatever, was struck by lightning, or the person that was getting beat, if they suddenly died instantly, no pain, to make sure that what happened to them, that they would not suffer any of those things, then I feel like maybe there was some sort of grace to make sure that these people did not feel pain or feel this kind of like rejection from someone that apparently loved them. And it's one of those things that these people, we don't know what some of these people go through. And there are stories that people say that they just go into a blank thing and then they just let things happen because their body's like in whatever, and that God may have made their body go numb. But you're still going through that experience. And then it's one of those things that, what did that do? Like, seriously, what was the message of that? Were you really that bad of a person that needed to happen to you as a child or as an adult or whenever that happened to you?
So I understand what you're saying, but I do. It's one of those things where we don't live in a perfect world, and there's going to be tragedy, there's going to be pain and all this other stuff, but we don't know if in that moment, like you were saying, how people say, oh, that God may make them go numb. We don't know if that's what happens, or if that's a lesson that they have to learn for another life or for this life. Who knows if in their life before they were an abuser, but they came back as a really good, I'm not saying your grandmother or anything like that, but sometimes you have to, kind of like what we were saying before about having compassion or whatever, sometimes you have to walk in someone else's shoes so that you can be an advocate for that person or be a fighter for that.
I disagree.
for that person.
I feel that I don't need to be beaten and dismembered to know that that's not a good thing.
No, I understand that, but some people may not, and some people that may just be it may just be a horror, because we live in a there's good and there's evil, and maybe that evil part is what makes people sick or makes the other person be God's not gonna, like, I think people think that God's gonna, like, magically, like you were saying, oh, if the person gets, like, struck by lightning, it's not like he's gonna automatically stop something from happening, because then there would be no pain and there would be no.
But with my extreme situation, which actually was a real situation.
No, I know it was, yeah.
How do you explain that?
It's hard to explain
based on what people are saying.
I think there's evil. I think there's evil in the world.
There is evil.
I feel like that God is not. And I don't want to say like God's not gonna, God isn't in control of everything, but I think there are things that happen that evil is just part of it. And I don't know if at the other end, there's some kind of redemption or savior for that person after they've gone through that. I don't know. But there is good and there's evil. Yeah. And I don't think that God is going to magically stop everything. I think people hope
I'm not saying that it stops it or that it's magically going to be stopped.
Yeah.
But there are situations that, why is that kind of situation
happening? And I think on
I don't think eating an apple is what created that kind of situation.
No. And I think that people that accept that are fooling themselves, because it's one of those things where At what point? Okay, for example, here we go. I'm going to probably mess up my own argument here when I say this, though. So Adam and Eve eat the apple, and
Right.
now they're cast out. So now, for the rest of time, we're supposed to be blamed for something that somebody else did.
Right.
Not to bring up stuff that's going on right now, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like people are being blamed for something that they didn't even do. They're being crucified for something that they didn't even do.
Right.
And so I don't think that's the case. I think if you're going to believe in God and that God is going to protect and he's going to do good, you have to believe there's an opposition. You have to.
Well, and I don't believe in the devil either.
And I know you don't, but I'm just saying. So I think people think that there's like an unbalanced amount of control with God and the devil. I don't think that's the case. I think that they are both controlling what's happening.
Yeah.
And there are people that have God with them and there are people that have devil with them. And that's why bad things happen. And that's why, go ahead.
But one of the things that I think people don't understand is people want this utopia.
Yeah.
But there is never going to be a utopia. And there's never has been
There
a utopia.
never has been.
Even if you believe in what happens in the Bible, Garden of Eden was not a utopia.
Yeah.
Because if it was a utopia,
there would be nothing that they couldn't touch.
There would be nothing they couldn't touch.
Yeah.
The apples would be given to them. There would be no opposition.
Why would you put something there to tempt somebody?
If it was utopia.
And also, why was the serpent even created? Why would that thing be created? And if you made something in the image of yourself, then why was it flawed? Why was it able? And I know people are saying, oh, that it was Eve, it wasn't Adam, and all this other stuff. But you were still allowing something to be in your area. It's just like if you have a house or a house and you invite some guy into your house that is a weirdo or something like that, and then he does something weird or he does something whatever. Why did you let him in your house? Like, why did you have this thing that could possibly mess something up? If this is supposed to be this sanctuary and this utopia, why did you create that? And if it was a test, that's a really crappy test because it's one of those things where if it's a test, then it should have been like levels. It should have been like, don't eat the strawberry, don't eat the apple, don't eat the watermelon, don't kill the lion. It was just like the first test, and it was just like, you failed it, you're out.
Right.
I mean, like even in school, you get a second chance, So it was kind of like, so I don't think that's the case. I do think that there is good and there's evil. I think there's a God, and I think that there is evil.
There is
but
good
I don't
and evil.
think that
I believe in good and evil, but I believe that people are good. I believe that people are evil.
Yeah, and you can switch sides too. You can definitely switch sides.
But I don't believe that someone is creating that good and evil either above us or below us.
Yeah.
And again, I've brought this up to you before, and this may bring some controversy as well.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we know that
oh, God, he's going to say this argument. Go ahead. Here's where everyone's going to address Mike.
How do we know? This is part of like sociology and stuff like that, and social experiments. How do we know that God is the one that you're supposed to follow? Here's the thing. I feel that based on everything that people tell me and stuff like that, that sometimes maybe God is the messed up one and the devil is not. Maybe the devil is supposed to be good. Because there's a reason why he left heaven and all this other stuff, supposedly, if you want to believe all these different things. I'm not going to get too much into all the different
Yeah, because
levels,
then you're using their theory within
But it's one of those things that people believe in the devil, but they feel that it's evil. But what if it's the opposite way around and people are just confused? They think that believing in God and trusting in God is good, but he's actually bad. Because just look at the Bible and look at all the things that God has done to his people, to his creation. He's killed them. He's murdered them. He's genocided them. So why would someone do that if they weren't evil?
But
if they weren't evil, why would someone do that? But people are thinking that people were told that the devil was the bad one based on what you learned from God, apparently. What if God is tricking you, that they say the devil tricks you? What if God is tricking you to make you think that the devil is bad, but he's not really bad because the devil really tricks you? So is God really the devil and the devil's really God? It's a concept. I know it's going to be controversial, and I understand it, and I'm sorry if you're upset, but here's the thing. My question is to make you just think and come up with a response. Whether you hate me or not, this is my opinion. These are my thoughts. So how are we supposed to know for sure?
Well,
again, the Bible was written by man. And the Bible was written from supposed experiences. But I can write a book too. I can write about my experiences. Does that mean that what I write is spiritual? Or if what I write is spiritual, does that mean that what I write is the word of God because of the way I write it?
Well, okay. So with your whole theory about the God and being devil and them flip-flopping or whatever, I do feel like I'll go back to saying I do believe good and evil. I do think that maybe it's possible that things were done by the devil and people, because they put so much power on God, I'm sorry, my mic got low for a second. Because they put so much power on God, they think everything was God that did it. But it could have been the devil, which is why I say I don't think that it's one of those things where God is more powerful than the devil. I think we're fighting good against evil. I think it's on the same plane. I think it's on the same level.
So based on that means that because God told Noah to build the ark and save these things, that the devil was the one that created the flood to kill all these people.
It's possible.
Then why wasn't it written that way?
Because people give God more credit, and I think that they also want to have this whole fear God thing. Like, he's an angry, vengeful.
That's because of what I said before.
I don't like when people say that.
He's a jealous God.
Jealous God.
Why is he jealous if there's not other gods?
Yeah, because it's one of those things where even a jealous person, why would you want to be around a jealous person? Because a jealous person is not a healthy person to be around. It's not healthy. So I don't like when people say that. And yeah, if there's no one else on your level, why would you be jealous?
Why would you be jealous?
And that's why I think that they are on the same level. I do.
If you're batting 1,000,
why are you?
No one else
why
batting
are you?
1,000.
Yeah. Why are you worried about the guy?
Why are you worried about
you?
someone that's like, oh, I like this guy because he's batting 500?
Yeah.
Well, why does it matter?
And that's the reason why I think that they're on the same level. And I think that it's like there's good and then bad happens. There's good and there's bad happens. And I think that's what it is. And I don't think people realize. And I think now in the world that we're in, I think that more people are gravitating towards the evil because that is feeding them with it makes them feel more powerful. It makes them feel like they're part of the rebel. And so I think for a long time it was trust in God, believe in God, be afraid of God. Whereas now a lot more people are doing more things that are more selfish and just like dark and demonic. And I feel
okay, my next quick question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
you.
You're fine.
Based on that, because I don't believe, do you feel that I'm a selfish person?
No, I don't think I think there are people who are in the middle. I think there are people who are just like, for example, I'm not like some, I got to go to church. I have to read the Bible. I have to know everything inside out. I have to I have belief, but I'm not one of those people that, and I'm also very against people trying to force religion on somebody else, Absolutely. Whether it be to believe or not to believe. Like if you're somebody who doesn't believe, don't tell me not to believe. And if you're someone who does believe, don't tell me what to believe.
Don't get me wrong on this, but I do feel that if you believe in your religion, you should have that right to feel on your religion. And that goes always. Don't think that because I have my thing, I'm saying that you should not believe.
Yeah.
I've never been that person. Yeah. I feel that if you believe in it, then you believe in it.
Then that's,
I have family members who are involved with churches.
That's why, with my aunt, with Jehovah's Witness, I think it's a cult. I have issues with it, but that's her belief,
But I was part of Young Life for a while. I was a part of Young Life because one of my friends invited me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was. So when I went, I was just kind of like, okay. And I went and I realized it's a youth religious group. And I did not pretend to be religious.
Yeah.
Everyone that was there, minus maybe a few people who didn't want to talk to me maybe, but everyone there, including the adults that ran it, knew my beliefs. We talked all the time about all these different things. And some of the other kids, we would talk about it, and the adults, we would talk about it. I would go to the summer camps with Young Life, and I'd have the same questions, all these. I've had many great conversations with all these people, like all the counselors at the church, or at the camp and stuff.
Yeah,
and I feel like both of our views made each of us try to think about things and either find a way to support our view more, like come up with some more like facts to support our views, or think about the other side.
Yeah.
And I think that neither one of us wavered on our views, but I think it was one of those things that we had respect for each other, and that's where the conversation like helped.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those things. It was never about, well, you're an idiot because you believe this, or you're an idiot because you believe it. You know, it was never about that. It was about like, well, why do you think that?
Yeah.
Like, you do know about this. I'm like, yeah, I do know about this, but here's the reason why I don't believe that either. And I mean, one of the counselors at Young Life that I had tons of respect for was Mark. I mean, we would always have conversations. And he believes in his faith very much, and I respect him greatly because of that. But I never once tried to get him to remove his thoughts on that.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was. And I enjoyed these conversations. I've had conversations with other people, and unfortunately, the bad thing about it is we didn't. Some of the other conversations I've had with other people, I'm trying not to like get too much into things.
Yeah.
I've lost friendships because they were not willing. Again, I'm not trying to change people's minds, but they weren't willing to listen to my side of the story.
Yeah.
Or my side of my
it's
belief.
Because for some people, they don't want that. They don't want a person that's going to make them question their belief, because that's part of their identity.
Yeah.
So when something makes you question something, it's like now you have to reevaluate everything, and that's a scary place for people.
Right.
And if you don't do that, if you haven't done that as a person, it can be very scary. So I think that's the issue with some people just saying, you know, I'm just not even going to have that conversation with someone because they don't understand where I'm coming from. So I'm just going to basically block that conversation out, so I don't even have to have that issue of questioning anything.
Right.
And I feel like if you believe that strong about something, you should be able to not defend yourself, but just answer certain questions. And then if it gets to a point where you're just like, okay, obviously we're not seeing eye to eye, that's fine. This is my belief. That's your belief. But to be like, I don't want to even interact with you as a person, that's a little risky.
Yeah.
That's a little, it's not a good thing, because there's obviously a little flaw or a little hole in your belief, that you're afraid that if someone opens up that little hole just a little bit more, it can actually, you know, cause a flood to come in, because there's something that you do question about your belief. But I don't know. It's one of those things where everyone can have their own belief, and whatever, you know, none of us truly knows. I don't know when you die, if you figure it out, if you know, die and all of a sudden like God and the devil are standing there and they're like, hey, you're on our team, right? You're on my team. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I don't think we really, but I think that if you feel that you have belief, that's okay. And if you don't have belief, then that's okay also. But not to just be like you were saying with the whole atheist thing. So I think some people, because I see a lot of the atheists are like former like religious people. And
they go extreme the other way.
Yeah, they're like, no, I don't believe in anything, and it's just like, so then it just becomes like,
then they're also very like anti and trying to push no religion,
and that's what I have a problem with.
That's never how I've been.
Yeah, so it's like if that was your journey, you were part of this, and then now you're not part of this. Don't be so like, you know, they're fake, they're this, you're that, and trying to expose all this stuff and everything so people can stop.
I do feel that there are some people who need to be exposed, like some of those televangelists that push all that stuff and do the healing things. I think a lot of them, they're very fake, and they do need to be exposed.
But it's one of those things where if you're, you know, there was recently some Christian guy that was like, he now is like denouncing his faith. I can't remember. It was like an article I read not too long ago. He was like part of some church, and it's like, I think he had that little hole in his belief, and someone probably got to him, and you know, and it could have just been that it was something that he was raised into and it was part of his identity, like you know, and so, but there was that little bit that he didn't allow himself to question, because I think that's another thing also. If somebody, even if you are like going to like Bible studies like you were saying and everything, you should be able to question things. And I think that if you answer those questions, that may make somebody's faith even stronger.
Yeah,
rather than saying, oh, we don't talk about that part, like don't question that. This is just what it is. But if you have that conversation, because all you're doing is making their curiosity more and then their doubt more also, because they're like, well, why can't we question that? Why can't we talk about that? So it's like, it's, it is what it is. Everybody has their own journey or whatever. So I don't know.
All right, guys.
Well,
so what's your journey?
Yeah.
Like, I know probably a lot of you are probably mad at me right now, and that's okay. Just know that, again, this is my opinion. You have yours.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you to share your opinion.
Yeah.
Respectfully
with everybody. Not even just to us, but for everyone else that's like that,
right. And if someone else has a conversation about religion, don't like just push them to the side, not wanting to listen. Listen to them.
Yeah.
See what they have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be in your benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know.
Yeah.
Just take the time. And if they don't know what they're talking about, then they don't know what they're talking about. And just like, let it be.
Yeah.
Just be like, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's our show for today. We thank you guys for listening and watching. Once again, follow us on all of our audio platforms. If you're here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, share, comment, hit the bell to get all of our notifications.
Yep.
And follow us on Instagram at Downright Random. Our contact information is down below if you want to send us an email. If you don't want to put something in the comments, if you just want to have it directly sent to us, we will check out your email, whatever. And yeah, I think that's it for today. And we will see you guys in the next one.
All right, guys.
All right.
Later.
Peace.